Hello and good morning to everyone. This is our lecture 2 of Criminology Live. We're going to discuss about historical development of criminology. So in the lecture 1 yesterday, we have gone with the various beginning of criminology. We discussed about meaning, nature, scope, and importance of criminology. We have learned that criminology is new to life-changing. Good. Let me check if it's working. Yes, it is working here in live stream. Live stream, we are going in for portrait mode actually. Yeah, I actually didn't know about it. Anyway, uh, thank you since it's working and we are moving ahead with today's lectures. Today we will discuss effort from time through different periods. Okay, this lecture is important because criminology didn't develop overnight. It didn't develop out of a laboratory or out of some experiment or something like that. It developed step by step through decades or even centuries. Okay, so human societies have always tried to understand crime and punishment to offenders. I mean, how crime happens, how people react to crime. Okay, why people are more interested to crime. These all, uh, this all that how people understand. Okay, it has gone significantly. Uh, the interest has gone significantly varied over time and time. Okay? At different stages of history, crime was seen as a sin of God. Okay, you are not doing something good. Okay, just for that you are doing a crime or you are compelled to do an activity which was termed as crime. Okay, so it was perceived in ancient times as a sin against God. Okay, something is not uh, legal in present times. It was regarded as something which was against the God. The criminal behavior was against the God. It was regarded like that. Uh, it was also regarded in ancient times that it was caused by evil spirits. Okay, evil spirits means something, some ghost or some evil spirit came into someone's body and and they they uh, they do the work, do the evil work on behalf of that particular person. Okay, so the act is caused by evil spirit. It was thought like that. Crime was also thought as a moral failure. Okay, it was regarded as a moral failure of the individual and even a collective. But they choose the part of crime. Okay, so it is a rational choice. Rational choice means people is choosing the part of crime because they choose it because they like it. Okay, it's not like that they are that we are going to discuss in our upcoming live sessions, which an individual tend to go into deviant behavior, why an individual are more interested in such criminal uh, attitudes than normal attitudes. Okay, social and economic factors. Why society compels someone to do crime? How important the support system is. How important the uh, environment and surrounding is with respect to crime. So this is a very important factor. Okay, social and economic factors also very important in crime. Economic factors was in terms of like if someone needs something. Okay, someone lacks. Let's say someone lacks money. Okay, he needs uh, a certain amount of money in a certain duration, but he has no means to get it in a good way. Okay, but his target or his goal is that he has to achieve it. So the phrase by hook or crook, it's a very dangerous phrase. It compels people to for deviant behavior. Okay, people achieve their goals by any means, even evading the law, even going against the law. Okay, so this is where people cross the line. Okay, so economic factor plays a very important role in criminal behavior. So as in this lecture, we're gonna discuss about crime as a sin against God. It's an act caused by evil spirits. We are going to discuss how it is regarded as a moral failure. We will discuss as uh, crime as a deliberate choice by a rational person. We will discuss about biological, psychological, social, and economic factors of crime. By this end of this lecture, we are going to understand how criminology evolved from superstition of ancient times and harass punishments into modern scientific discipline. Okay, in the ancient times, it was very superstitious, and and the criminology was rooted in the criminal behavior, or the criminal justice system uh, was rooted in superstition, and punishment was harass. Okay, so how we are evolving, how criminology is evolving from that harass punishment period, from the superstitious period to the modern scientific period, to a modern discipline of crime and criminal justice system as a whole. Okay, so we are going to discuss everything there. So, if we go to the meaning of historical development of criminology, it means gradual evolution of the ideas of crime, criminal punishment, and criminal justice. Criminology is not about a singular thing, it is a collective thing. It is about crime, criminal, the punishment system, the criminal justice system. So, how all these collectively are or gradually improving over time. That is our historical development. If we go back to ancient societies, people often believe that crime happened because a person was possessed by evil spirits, or or people thought that some persons may have had uh, some kind of power, some kind of supernatural powers, just for that they did something good, also did something bad. What they did good, it was perceived to be a divine power. Okay, what they did bad, it was perceived to be an evil power. It was the thought like it was he or she was possessed by evil spirits or had offended divine powers. It's also said that if someone offend some divine powers, uh, they go more in towards the evil powers, and what we call crime or criminal activities happen. In ancient times, the punishment was usually very cruel and based on revenge. The retribution or retributive theory was at the peak. It was peak in ancient times. Punishment was truly horrendous. It was very cruel and based on revenge. Okay, if you do something bad to me, I will do something bad to you. Okay, it was so harsh that we think it was really barbaric at that time. Okay, as we move ahead with the present civilization or the present time, if we think it from the point of view of present time, we would term the ancient criminal justice system as a barbaric one. Okay, so while the system was so, philosophers at that time began to raise some important questions regarding criminal systems, regarding these criminal justice systems. Uh, Questions arise like, why should a person be punished? Why someone need to be punished? Do we have, as human beings, do we have a right to punish someone? This is a very fundamental question of philosophy. As human beings, do we have a right to punish someone? Because we are not running the society as a group of people, we are not running the environment, we are not running the world. So, so how can we punish someone? Okay, this question led to the development of legal and philosophical ideas of crime. Okay, legal ideas and philosophical ideas of crime came into existence from this very question, that why should a person be punished? Why someone needs to be punished if he has done something wrong? Okay, eventually scholars began studying criminals scientifically by examining their bodies, their mind, their families, communities, and social interaction. Okay, scholars has begun uh, to explore things since enlightenment, from a scientific point of view, from sociological point of view, from psychological point of view, incorporating bodies, minds, their families, like the society around, and the conditions imposed by societies, including socio-economic conditions. Okay? This gradual journey of criminology gave birth to modern criminology. So modern criminology didn't come in one go. Okay, it came from a gradual journey, as we have discussed. Okay, now going back to the ancient societies, we are going to discuss for a while about crime in primitive and ancient societies. The societies that were primitive and ancient at the time, we are going to now discuss. We are going to now, let's begin with 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 the primitive societies. In early human societies, there were no modern police forces, as we know. Like we have now multiple uh, different types of police forces, okay, like civilian police to paramilitary police to military style police or other kinds of hybrid policing systems, from democratic to authoritarian to community policing models, okay. But in ancient times, we didn't have such kind of a structured modern police, okay. We didn't even have courts like we have courts. We have the judicial system at present. In ancient times, we didn't have such courts. We didn't have the prisons, the reformatory prisons like we have now, state prisons, we have central prisons, we have open prisons, different prisons for juveniles, different prisons for women, etc. At that time, at the ancient time, societies didn't have such well-structured prisons. Okay. Moreover, as of now, we have particular law. Like now we have BNS, that is Bharatiya Nyaya Samhita of India, or as well Indian Penal Code. These penal codes or these Nyaya Samhitas were written criminal laws. Okay, they are written in India, in UK, in Australia, in US or Europe or China, anywhere. Okay, in modern, in each and every modern societies, there are written criminal laws. But in ancient times, there was no such criminal laws. Okay, the the social order was maintained through customs, traditions, family authority, tribal rules, and religious beliefs. Okay, going over them, there were customs in the society. Okay, there were traditions in the society, like if someone go against the tradition, like to wear something or not to wear something, there are some customs, some celebration. If someone is not celebrating that, if someone is going against such tradition, like marrying of someone's son or daughter to someone else, it has to be in the same clan. If it goes in another clan, it may be called a deviance or crime in society. Okay, it was like that at that time. So societal custom, tradition, and family authority. There were various tribes and particular tribal rules of them. Also, religious beliefs, like various religions at the time, like the Hinduism, Christianity, Islam, or even Buddhism. Every uh, every every religion and society based on such religions had their rules, religious rules or religious beliefs, as well as the religious scriptures have had a very important um, influence. It was very much influence in criminal justice system. Okay, so crime was often treated as a wrong against the family, against the tribe, or religious order. So crime was basically regarded it was something that is wrong, wrong against whom? Wrong against the family, wrong against the tribe, or wrong against the religious order. Okay. For example, if a person is injured or killed, the victim of the family might take revenge against whom? Against the person who has killed or injured that person. Okay. If let's say person A kills or person A injures person B, the family of B would come and get a revenge against the family of A. Okay, it was both ways. It was even uh, directed towards that person, and and the most unfortunate was at that time it was directed against the family of that person too. It was very unfortunate. This system is known as primitive vengeance. Primitive vengeance. Okay, this system was known as primitive vengeance. Okay, so that it was a revenge system. If uh, someone is doing something bad against it, his family will revenge against it. His family will do something similar or bad against the perpetrator. Okay, it has the simple main idea of if someone caused harm, the victim or the family of the victim had the right to retaliate. Retaliation was at the core of retribution. Okay, so these often created violence between families, between tribes, clan, and in the overall society. So this retributive behavior or this retributive system of criminal justice or this retributive system of criminology of ancient time has had immense impact on the social structure. It led to violence. It led to societal violence. Okay. Next, coming to blood void and private revenge. What is a blood void and private revenge? A blood void was a uh, continuing conflict between families or clans after a number after a murder or serious injury. Again, if you go if the family of X injures the family of Y, okay, there will be a continuous exchange of conflict between the both families. Okay, sometimes X will be attacking Y, then Y will be revenging against it. So it becomes a continuous phenomenon. Okay, For example, if one member of the family X is killed, one member of a family X kills a member of family Y, the family of Y might kill someone from the family of X, and what? X will not be stopping there. X will be retaliating, and this cycle of revenge comes on again and again. Okay, and this leads to a circular criminal behavior that we call blood void or primitive revenge. Blood void and primitive revenge was a very much and it was a means it was a curse to the society. Okay, uh, and it was a retaliatory concept of the society, and it had continued for generations. Okay, such systems of a blood void didn't focus on reforming the offender. Okay, if someone is doing an offense at that time, at that time, uh, it didn't focus on reforming the offender. The punishment and the revenge was there to restore the family honor. Okay, the family honor was more important than reforming the offender. It was regarded so at that time. Okay, so therefore it was called blood void. Okay, blood void created instability. Therefore, societies gradually developed various rules to limit such blood voids and such revenges. As time passed, as philosophers emerged, people started to think more about the systems that this blood void system need to be sense. Okay, as people become more educated, they thought why this revenge, why this circular process of revenge is happening, what are we getting out of it? That's the main thing. Okay, so this blood void system got sensed over times as modern societies and education has evolved. People become more educated, and this system gone. Now coming to the ancient principle of an eye for an eye, a tooth for an tooth. This is called Hammurabi principle. Okay, one of the earliest principle of punishment was the principle of retaliation. This is also called a retaliation uh, principle. It's simply stated as an eye for an eye, a tooth for a tooth. This principle is associated, as I have said, associated with the Code of Hammurabi. Code of Hammurabi or Code of Hammurabi was a legal code of ancient Babylon. In ancient Babylonian kingdom, the criminal code was a code of Hammurabi. Not only criminal code, some like civil and other social code was there. So the criminal nature of the criminal justice system of code of Hammurabi was like that: an eye for an eye, a tooth for a tooth. The the idea was that punishment should be proportionate to the injury cost. Okay, so it was like that the punishment should be not less, not more than the crime, than the amount of crime. It was like if someone is breaking your hand, he has to be compensated, or he has to get uh, similar amount of punishment of breaking the hand. If he is breaking the leg, although this appears, it appeared very harsh in history, it was an important development because it limited the unlimited revenge. The Code of Hammurabi was also a very uh, antique, or maybe a barbaric code to some extent, but it got developed from the very ancient nature of circular or unlimited regions. Okay, it got into a limited regions. Okay, so Code of Hammurabi told that the system should be that we go with an proportionate revenge system. And what is proportionate revenge system? That the amount of punishment should be similar to the damage cost. Okay, this is how it limited the unlimited revenge theory. It tried to ensure that punishment was not greater than the harm caused. It was very important characteristic of Hammurabi Code that it ensured that punishment, the amount of punishment, not to increase the amount of harm that had happened. Okay. Now, the idea of proportional punishment, as we move to the idea of proportional punishment, for example, if someone stole a small item, the punishment, like it shouldn't be that of death. Okay, if someone is stealing something, if someone is doing something uh, very petty crime, okay, like theft or very small crime, like let's say uh, not wearing something good at the ancient times, not doing something very nice. It was the punishment shouldn't be death. Like very ancient time, at that time, the punishment was death at that time. Okay, so it is said that the Hammurabi Code limited the phenomenon that it shouldn't go into death if someone uh, is doing something very small. The punishment should be related to the seriousness of the offense. The more serious the offense, the more serious or more severe would be the punishment. The idea of proportionate punishment later become very important in the classical school of criminology. The idea of Hammurabi Code or the idea of this punishment has later become very important in the classical school of criminology. Okay, we are going to study about classical school in later part. Okay, now we are moving ahead with the ancient legal systems and crime. As societies become more organized, they began creating written laws. This period we are talking about after or at the time of Hammurabi Code and other as societies have become more organized, they began to uh, write or construct their laws, okay, their own legal system, their own critical criminal system. Written laws helped establish clear rules about what was permitted and what was prohibited. Okay, when there was a written laws, it was like that people was about people were able to understand uh, what is permitted and what is not permitted. There was a line between permission and prohibition after the written law. Okay, some of the important ancient legal systems that we have discussed about the Code of Hammurabi in Babylon. Okay, we had also ancient systems like the Roman law, also the ancient Indian legal traditions, Greek legal and philosophical ideas. These were various ideas that at the ancient times, or we can term them as ancient legal systems and So moving one by one, we are moving towards Code of Hammurabi. Just give me a second. Just give me a second. I'm sorry. Kind of slow like this. Am I audible? Yeah. Mm, I don't know why there is no focus mode. Yeah. So, okay, moving ahead, the Code of Hammurabi. Okay, the Code of Hammurabi was one of the earliest written legal codes. It was created in ancient Babylon. Ancient Babylon is at present it's in I think in Iraq. Okay, in around 1754 before Christ. Okay, in about 1754 before Christ, the ancient Hammurabi Code or the Code of Hammurabi was written. It contained rules relating to property, about family matters, about trade, about injury and punishment. It was a broad code. Okay, the Code of Hammurabi was a broad code. It contained rules as we have discussed about property, family matters, trade, injury, punishment, etc. The code is remembered for its principle of retaliation, particularly often described as an eye for an eye. The Code of Hammurabi is remembered for the principle of the eye for an eye. It is important because it showed that punishment should be regulated by law rather than left entirely to the private revenge. A very important thing of Code of Hammurabi. Why it is important? Because it it gave importance on on importance on uh, the philosophy that crime must be regulated by the system. Everything should go by or according to the laws. There is nothing like individual law, individual revenge, etc. It was a move. The Code of Hammurabi was a move from personal revenge towards legal punishment. Okay, it was one of the first moves from personal revenge to legal punishment. Now, moving towards other geographies like ancient Greek thoughts, the ancient Greeks continued significantly towards philosophical thinking about crime and punishment. Greek philosophers began discussing whether crime was caused by ignorance, lack of education, bad habits, or moral weakness. Okay, so the philosophers thought about that. Plato believed that crime could result from ignorance and improper education. Okay, Plato also believed that crime could be due to ignorance, that people don't know what to do and what not to do. People don't know about prohibited things and all. Okay. Also, he gave importance of that on the education, that if someone is lack of education, someone is having lack of education, he may be mm, more inclined towards crime. He argued that states should educate citizens and use punishment to reform offenders. Okay, so Plato argued that it is a duty of states to educate its city, to educate its citizens and use unequal distribution of wealth could create social conflict. It was a very move towards modern criminological thought from Aristotle. Okay, where he believed that economical hardships and unequal distribution of wealth could be one of the factors of deviant behavior, one of the factors towards crime. Okay, so these ideas were important because they showed early recognition that crime may have social causes. Okay, so Plato, Aristotle, etc., the philosophers at that time tried to explore the crime out of the ancient superstitious or religious beliefs and coming and moving towards modern era or modern thought that crime may have some other factors like social or economic hardships. If we move to other geographical locations like the Roman Empire, in Roman law, they made an important contribution to the development of criminal justice. The Romans developed legal principles relating to responsibility, intention, evidence, and punishment. They recognized that a person's intention could matter in determining guilt. Okay, here comes the acts rea and mens rea of criminology. Okay, where the intent matters. If someone is harming someone with an intent, the punishment would be totally different if someone is harming someone without intent or by accident or not by choice. Okay, so the person's intention with respect to crime become a very determining factors in determining the guilt. In modern criminal law, this is related to idea of mens rea. As I have said, the mens rea has its roots in the Roman system. Mens rea is guilty mind. In simple language, it is guilty mind. So Roman laws also distinguish between different types of offenses and established organized legal procedures. These principles later influenced many modern legal systems around the world, including legal uh, traditions in India. Okay, so we have discussed in this series about the historical development of law. Particularly, we have discussed the principle of eye for an eye, the blood void systems. We have discussed about crime in primitive and ancient societies. Okay, uh, we have also discussed ancient legal systems of crime like the Code of Hammurabi, the ancient Greek thoughts. We have discussed about Roman law. Okay, uh, so next in the next video of 2.5 probably we are going to discuss crime and punishment in medieval societies. Probably in the evening or afternoon I will be doing this and I will look into the system of my avatar why it's not moving. Okay, I'm sorry for that. And we are discussing the next part of this lecture on probably on the third live session of criminology. Till then, goodbye, have a good day, and happy learning. Bye.